you remember the 1970s? It was a time of shag carpets, rotary phones, and Saturday morning cartoons. Back then, kids ruled the neighborhood. We drank straight from the garden hose, rode in the back of pickup trucks, and played with toys that, well, would give modern parents a heart attack. Because here's the thing, if a toy in the 70s didn't explode, slice or set something on fire, was it even fun? Today, we're dusting off the toy chest and looking back at 10 toys from the 1970s that would be banned today. Let's rewind the reel and take a peek at what we somehow survived. Toy T1, Jarts, the backyard missile. If you grew up in the 70s, chances are you remember Jarts, also known as lawn darts. They were nearly a foot long, with heavy pointed metal tips. You'd toss them in the air and aim for a plastic ring on the lawn, but more often than not, they'd land somewhere else, like your cousin's foot or the neighbor's barbecue. Over 6,000 injuries were reported before they were finally banned in 1988. But in the 70s, Jarts were just part of summer fun. Toy 2, the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab. Yes, you heard that right. An actual toy that came with radioactive material. This science kit promised kids a hands-on look at atomic energy. It included real uranium ore and a guidebook on how to split the atom. Sounds exciting and slightly terrifying. It was only sold for a short time before safety concerns shut it down. But it's a real reminder of how different things were back then. Toy 3, Clackers, the wrist-snapping menace. Simple in design, deadly in action. Clackers were two hard acrylic balls attached to a string. You'd swing them up and down until they smacked together, making a loud clack, and often cracking your knuckles. Kids loved them, until they started shattering mid-swing and sending shards flying like glass shrapnel. Hospitals saw the trend before toy makers did, and eventually they were pulled off shelves. But every kid who played with them remembers that sound. Toy 4, Johnny Reb Cannon, the toy that fired. This wasn't just a model cannon, it actually fired plastic. Cannonballs up to 35 feet. Marketed in the late 60s and still sold into the early 70s, it let kids reenact Civil War battles in the backyard. While it might seem like harmless fun, the idea of kids launching projectiles with historical weapons didn't exactly age well. It vanished quietly by the end of the decade, but not before a few windows and nerves were shattered. Toy 5, Creepy Crawlers, the hot plate toy. Imagine giving a child a forens de Griffmittel plate and telling them to go wild. That's what you got with Creepy Crawlers. Kids would pour liquid plastic, called plastigoo, into metal molds and bake them into wiggly bugs, snakes, and monsters. Burns were common, spills even more so. But man, those rubbery little creatures were worth it. Today's version comes with safety switches and plastic ovens. But back then, you learned about caution the hard way. Toy 6, Battlestar Galactica Colonial Viper, the choking hazard. In 1978, this toy spaceship was a must-have for sci-fi fans. The problem? It had a small plastic missile that actually launched and could easily get lodged in a child's throat. Tragically, it did just that, leading to one child's death and a massive recall. Toy makers soon redesigned all launchable toys, thanks in part to this one. But for a brief moment, that little Viper ruled the stars and terrified parents. Toy 7 fireworks sets. Yes, for kids. Believe it or not, you could walk into a store in the 70s and buy a junior fireworks kit. Sparklers, poppers, Roman candles, all boxed up and sold like candy. No adult supervision required. It was just another way to make summer exciting and occasionally dangerous. Burns and backyard fires were common, but back then, that was just part of the 4th of July. Toy 8, candy cigarettes, sweet imitation, bad message. They tasted like chalk, came in little boxes, and looked just like the real thing. Candy cigarettes were everywhere. Kids would puff on the sugar sticks pretending to be grown-ups. Some even blew powdered sugar smoke. Looking back, it's hard to believe we handed kids miniature smokes and called it candy, but in the 70s it was all about make-believe. Toy 9, cap guns with realistic sound and smoke. Cap guns were huge in the 1970s. They looked like real revolvers, fired with a loud bang, and even gave off smoke. You could buy them in full metal with Western holsters. For a kid, it was just playtime. For everyone else, it was sometimes hard to tell the difference. After a wave of tragic incidents, regulations came in. Now they're orange-tipped and toy-like, but back then, they were dangerously real. Toy 10, riding in the back of toy trucks, literally. This one isn't a toy in the traditional sense, but it was absolutely part of play. Kids in the 70s loved sitting in the back of real pickup trucks or plastic ones. They'd roll down hills. No seatbelts, no helmets, just wind in your hair and gravel under your wheels. It felt like freedom. Looking back, it was kind of reckless. But if you were a kid back then, those truck bed adventures were the best part of summer. Toys from the 1970s had a charm and a danger all their own. They weren't always safe, but they were memorable. They taught us to take risks, and sometimes they taught us lessons the hard way. Which one do you remember playing with? Did we miss one of your childhood favorites? Let us know in the comments. And if this trip down memory lane brought back a few bruised knees and big smiles, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Thanks for watching Retro Nest. We'll see you next time, same same toy shelf.